welcome to the pod. I'm your host, Grace, and with us we have Stefan, who's going to teach us how to become a sports agent and agency owner. Thank you so much for coming.
Thanks, Grace. Lovely to see you.
So I'm really excited to hear about this. So first of all, just in a nutshell, tell me what that is.
God, where do we start? So essentially there's kind of many layers to what I do. So one side of what I do is I represent a boxer called Chris Eubank Jr. and I do kind of all his, say, out of the ring, PR, marketing, sponsorship, day-to-day stuff. And the other side is I'm a co-owner of a sport and entertainment agency called YRDS. And again, that involves many things: contractual negotiations, the PR, marketing, administration aspects, working with talent, working with brands, working with rights holders. So there's many layers to that as well. But I kind of separate the two. But then sometimes we do work together on a lot of projects. And for example, Chris has got an upcoming fight November 15th at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. So we would run a lot of stuff through Yards. And then obviously me looking after Chris as well.
So you looking after Chris is not part of Yards? Essentially,
I like to keep both separate, but they do kind of merge in together. Mm-hmm. So for this fight, obviously we do a lot of stuff through Yards. Mm-hmm. Previously, I'd kind of like to keep both things separate because I've been working with Chris for like the last 8-9 years. Yards, we kind of co-founded, myself and two of my colleagues, about 2.5 years ago. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of synergies between the agency and what I do with Chris, but sometimes I like to keep it separate. Sometimes it works really well that we combine opportunities, like for this fight. But yeah, kind of a long-winded answer. But
no, it's good because you'd automatically think they go together. So it's quite nice to hear they are separate and you are managing two really huge things separately, I guess.
Absolutely.
So we'll get more into that, but we'll go back to the beginning where we do with everyone. And so just tell us what you wanted to be when you were growing up.
Well, that's a great question. I guess when I was a kid, probably a footballer, like probably a lot of guys and girls' dreams, I guess, in sport. Obviously always fascinated by sport, always been very active. I was very lucky. Obviously I've been kind of brought up in different countries, different cultures. So up until I was 12, I lived abroad.
Okay.
So I was born in London, then I went to Japan for a year, then I went to Indonesia for 6 years. I went to British International School. Then I went to Brazil for 2 years. Then I went to Angola in Africa for 2 years.
Oh my word.
Then I came back when I was 12. So in that period of time, obviously as a kid as well, just obviously football's always been kind of top of my list when, as a kid growing up. And then when I came to UK, I actually lost all my footballing skills. But yeah, as a kid, always wanted to be a footballer until reality hit me. And then I thought, what's the next best thing? To become an agent. So actually it fits in quite perfectly what I'm doing now, or kind of work in sport with athletes, with talent, brands. As I got older, that's kind of what I wanted to do, yeah.
And so what were the steps for that? I guess you were just playing sports and then you studied sport, or? Yeah.
Yeah, so I went to Kingston Uni in London. So after college, I applied, what did I do? Sports science and business. So I was there for 4 years, and basically had an amazing time out there. And I think, I was still kind of thinking my way through my career, like what I wanted to do. And then I think towards the end, my last year I had opportunity to work with the Olympics. This is 2012. An email kind of went round the sports science department for someone who's trilingual, speaks Portuguese, Spanish, to work with the Brazil football team.
Is that you speak? Okay,
that's correct, yeah. And I was like, yes, please.
Yeah.
This was towards the end of my time at Kingston, and I kind of jumped at the opportunity. So I worked for Low Cog, so I worked at the Brazil football team, I worked at the stadium, at Wembley, and where all the football games are being played across the UK. I had a fantastic time, experience meeting some of the people. You don't realise, obviously, the people that were volunteering, as I did, were like from full-time jobs, really high up. Some like incredible people I met on the way. And during my time at Low Cog, I met a guy who works at the Premier League, who's now fairly high up, and it just shows you obviously who you meet and who you interact with. It's who you know.
Yeah,
it really is, and that kind of transformed my career going forward. So post LOCOG, I met up with him after for a coffee and said there's actually a job going at the Premier League. Love to see if you're the right fit for it. And 10 years down the line, I was at the Premier League for about 10 years.
Wow, that's unreal. And that's all stemmed from you doing that Olympics experience?
Yes.
And you were quite young to do that experience in the first place. Like, what an opportunity.
I think I was early. I think I left junior at 21, 22. Before then I had I had some experience under my belt. So I think one key thing to do as well, which I implore, people leaving uni, is to obviously get loads of experience before you leave, because you're basically kind of separates yourself from other people. So I was lucky enough, my cousin worked in kind of media and sponsorship, and she worked at a company called Omnicom Media Group, who are obviously quite big. Managed to get an internship, I think, there the summer before, a company called Fuse, who did lots of sport and entertainment projects, really cool. And later on in my life, I actually ended up going back there. So again, very thankful for my time there, and obviously met some amazing people, worked with some amazing brands. But yeah, I don't know if that's a long-winded
No, it's
answer.
good. I think the experience thing is so key, because you just, like you say, you don't know who you're going to meet, and then making those first impressions can change things along the way. Because Premier League, that's really cool. What did you do there?
Yeah, it's incredible. I mean, my motto is always, I always live by, is always be kind and considerate on the way up, because you never know when you see them on the way down. So I've always lived by that. Whenever I speak to people or I'm interacting with brands or talent, it's like a spider web, and that's the same thing I speak to Chris about, one of my clients. It's like when someone comes up to him asking for an autograph or something, it's like you always take time to interact with someone or make sure your impression has a lasting effect, because you never know. It's like a spider web, a kind of bad impression from someone or negative conversation, it just spirals. So I've always kind of held my hand up high, and always kind of grateful for those opportunities when I speak to people in the industry.
Yeah, that's really cool. What was your role at Premier League?
So my role at the Premier League, I came in as a team liaison officer, and I worked on all the youth projects. So from under 9s to 23s across the Premier League, you would have tournaments, events for different age groups across the country, all the academies. So Arsenal Academy, Tottenham, Brighton, you name it. So basically helping logistically organise those events, looking after the kids. I was also doing a bit of player contracts as well in the youth system. And then obviously my prime role as well was looking after some of the foreign teams coming over. So from Portuguese speaking to Spanish speaking clubs, up until the under 23s, which is the kind of the reserve teams for the first team clubs. So basically kind of players are out of in injury or coming back from injury. I mean, some incredible players who played obviously in first teams, and obviously looking after them throughout their stay in the UK, making sure they obviously had a great time, enjoyable stay, making sure everything ran smoothly. And I'd basically be their liaison officer, translating, organising, administrating, and being the kind of the bridge between the Premier League and the club as well for any comms and stuff. So yeah, obviously met some incredible players, incredible coaches. Some of the players who I actually know now and speak to now, who have gone on to do really well at all the clubs they played at. So that for me has always been quite easy, like communicating, relationships. Just again, going back to my experience living abroad, it's always helped, being immersed in those different cultures and backgrounds. Because when I came to the UK, it was like a massive shock when I went to that schooling system. I was international school all my life. I was kind of had that freedom, but then the shock of coming to the UK and obviously it was hard. Like that schooling system when I was 12, 13. I went to a place called Lancing College, which was like very kind of grandeur. It was like a massive school chapel. Like I had to go. It was crazy. Like from going to an international school in Jakarta and Angola and Brazil, which was a Portuguese-speaking school. I had to speak Portuguese only. coming to the UK was like a massive shock, which I think definitely is an eye opener.
Yeah.
You know, when I have kids in the future, for sure, that's something I want to do at an early age, is definitely immerse them in different cultures and different backgrounds, because the experience I learned from that period of time was like so valuable. I'm so grateful to my parents as well for, obviously being abroad all that time.
Yeah, because when you said it, I feel like for a child that young, that would be really hard. But it's quite nice to hear how positively it's affected your life, because it's a lot
Absolutely.
of moving.
It's a lot of moving, but also I think you just roll the punches. You don't even, I think as a young kid, you don't really think about that. You just think about, oh, he's my friend. The freedom you have as well as of being a kid, doing what you can do, what you want to do. So you don't really think about anything else. It's it was such a unique opportunity to obviously live abroad for that period of time. Met loads of friends throughout that time when I lived in Brazil and Angola, and I wouldn't take it back. I'm so glad I did it.
Yeah, it's made such a big impact.
Absolutely.
And so your time at the Premier League is really cool, because if you wanted to be a footballer, but you weren't sure you could do that, you really made sure you got a job that you were still surrounded by it. It's like still kind of the dream. Yeah,
it was almost like touching distance of wanting to become a player and not good enough. So what's the next best thing? But again, going back to, meeting people in those positions and opportunities and making the most out of it. So grateful. So my 10 years at the Premier League, I think I was full-time for a few years, and then I went on to be a consultant for them at the same time for that period of time. And then I managed to work at a few sports marketing agencies along the way, so I could do both. So, the Premier League definitely opened up a lot of doors for me on my CV. The players, the employees, the people I met on the way have definitely been incredible. So I owe a lot to them. And it's kind of opened the door up for me in terms of the sport and entertainment world, having,
Was the sports marketing agency something you were always interested in, or did you kind of fall across it and you're like, whoa, I'd like to try this?
Yeah, my first kind of taste into sports marketing was when I had my internship at Fuse, which was just, I think, before I left uni, my third year at uni. And I think, that's what kind of gave me the kind of idea of what to do when I wanted to, when I left uni. Just being kind of put on accounts and working within sport and like massive brands, getting a taste of that, I think, before I left uni as well, kind of set me up to be like, oh, wow, actually, this is something I want to do. So I'm so glad I had the opportunity, which is why I kind of always implore people to explore and do work experience before you leave uni, because I know a lot of friends who have gone on to do things and, some great jobs, some not so much, and they kind of kick themselves for not having that experience and trying everything in your 20s to kind of tick off, that list of, okay, I did that, so I'm not doing that when I go for, when I'm older.
Yeah.
So
trying it, see even if you don't like it, kind of thing.
Trial and error, absolutely. So, that's definitely, the Premier League definitely opened up a lot of doors for me. And the kind of knowledge I kind of learned at those sports marketing agencies set me up to then work with Chris, to then, co-found my sport and entertainment agency with my two co-founders. It's definitely kind of been that process for sure.
So how did you become Chris's agent? Because that's huge.
It's a funny story, actually. So Chris and I kind of knew each other back then, not as much. I mean, it's Brighton and Hove is very cliquey. Everyone knows everyone. I think at one point I was actually playing rugby against him on opposite sides of the wing. So that was when I was like 13. And then...
Oh, so you go way back.
Well, we didn't know each other that back then, but I knew of him. We had loads of mutual friends. And then I think when I left, I'm trying to think when the exact year was. I think it was 8 years ago. By the way, that same year as well, I went to Sports Industry Awards and I met Chris. And I think I got like a selfie with him, as like we had a long chat. And looking back on that timestamp, I then worked with him 6 months later.
Strange.
So it's such a weird experience. But back then I was just thinking, obviously I know Chris, like, mutual friends and stuff. And then 6 months later, I worked at an agency, and then we signed Chris, and then I ended up working with Chris as his agent after. So it's kind of like all come into a full 360. But I think how it initially started was an email. I just sent an email to Chris through his Instagram, I think, and his colleague or his partner just responded and said, okay, cool, let's have a coffee. And that's how it started.
Wow.
And I met up with her, met Chris properly in a kind of business context. Because before it's always been kind of, I knew him from, mutual friends or going out. And we had like a real conversation. And I think we got on really well because we're quite similar, banter, from the same place, we understand each other, similar age. And I think the reason why we really got on is because we can just relate to each other. Mm-hmm. He was approached by some of the big guys like IMG back in the days, talking about 8 years ago, Wasserman. I don't want to roll off the agencies, but I think he could never relate to them because they just didn't understand him. Mm-hmm. And I think at the time I did, the point in my career where I was going, where he was going, just the perfect coincidence, really. Like kind of the universe was talking. So yeah, I ended up working with him and still work with him. It's been about 8 years now.
Were you an agent on your own, or were you doing that on behalf of another agency?
So when I first signed Chris, it was with an agency.
Right.
And then we didn't stay too long there. I think about a year we separated and I started working with Chris directly. I left the agency.
And what does that mean? Like, what difference does that make to go solo without an agency?
I think there's a bit more freedom. Mm-hmm. I think at the time, Chris was kind of figuring out, he'd just signed a new promotion deal, I think, with ITV Boxing. Just a lot more freedom when you work with one talent as well. Mm-hmm. It's a lot of... I think it's a lot harder than people think, especially the way Chris is now and obviously the big fights he's having. But because of his name, his dad, what he brings to the table, it's almost not just one person. It feels like 10.
Yeah.
So really, that was a full-time job essentially back then. But I was also doing some other stuff at the Premier League on the side as well. So I could kind of consult on various other projects whilst working with Chris. But yeah, no, there's never been a day that's the same. There's always a different day because everyone always says, "Oh, what's it like working with Chris?" And I was like, I can't begin to explain. There's so many facets to it, There's so much to do, So essentially, what I do with Chris is everything out of the ring. Mm-hmm. So he has his promoter, which at the moment is Boxer. He has his kind of fight team, which is Nova Sport, so boxing management, so everything inside the ring, the contractual agreements, the bout agreements, who he fights, which I've got a bit of oversight on that as well, but it's mainly everything outside the ring, so it's PR, image, likeness, marketing, sponsorship, day-to-day admin as well that comes with it, traveling with him. So there's a lot of things.
It's a lot.
Yeah. He's
It's a lot of responsibility as well. You must have to check over a lot of things.
Yeah, there's a lot of responsibility, and I think that responsibility has grown throughout the years.
Yeah.
From 8 years now, he's obviously fighting on the 15th of November against Conor Benn in the rematch. So there's more eyes on Chris. There's more opportunities, a lot more pressure. But essentially, that's why I think we work really well. I kind of take the barrage of hits and opportunities to obviously make his life easier. Mm-hmm. His job is to get in the ring, perform, not get hurt, leave unscathed, make his money. At the same time, that's where kind of his team around him is so important. Like what I do, what his boxing team do. Everyone has a purpose and a role within the team to make his life smoother, because that last fight he had against Conor, obviously fantastic fight, fight for the ages. But I think leaving the arena then, I think we want to make sure that everything is on point. He has a next fight if he wants to fight after, but everyone's doing their job and duties around that to make sure he's all okay.
That it's smooth sailing.
Yes.
Do people approach you for promotions and partnerships, or do you and he have an idea and you approach them, or is it a mix of both?
Absolutely a mix of both.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah, so we get inbounds for Chris. all the time. Yeah, it's very proactive though. I like to be more proactive because with Chris, we're very targeted on the brands and publications we work with. Trying to get outside that boxing model where everyone thinks, oh, he's a boxer, it's a blood sport. We're not working with him. So already we're kind of disadvantaged with the brands we work with and the clients we work with because of how the sport is seen.
That's interesting. I've never known that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's a good example of, I think, Vita Coco, the coconut brand. I remember they used to sponsor a lot in boxing. They had it on the canvas, in the ring. And I think the CMO, was watching the fight back, and basically there was just like blood all over the ring, all across the branding. So it kind of gives a bad taste if you're watching that from a brand perspective when your logo is being seen of, blood, and so it's not great. So there are a lot of brands that obviously don't, partner with boxing, but there are a lot of that do. But with Chris, we kind of separate the two almost like his own entity. So very much outside the boxing model. So we like to go premium. Fashion's a big thing for Chris. He loves his fashion. So we target major fashion brands like Louis V, Dior. So we did a few partnerships with them in the past with Fendi, Philip Plein. Because Chris is well spoken. Has come from a good background. So we're trying to kind of separate the two. And you can talk the talk, walk the walk. So a lot of these brands we work with Chris are the premium side, which is probably not. I mean, now you can see a lot of brands now slowly doing the same thing with a few other boxers. You can also talk the talk. But back then it was almost like, okay, here you go. You're going to partner with a construction company. A kind of, the norm brands in boxing. Now you're starting to see a lot more brands open up, and obviously the viewership's going up with other promotions of Netflix, of Jake Paul, Misfits Boxing. So you're starting to see the landscape of boxing change a lot from a marketing perspective. So it opens up new opportunities. But with Chris, we've always been kind of very segmented. Like, we're doing this and this. We're not going to partner with Chris because this is going to damage his IP and his likeness. So let's focus on this. And I think that's worked throughout the number of years I've worked with him. Very much kind of targeting the brands we work with.
When you land a big brand like that, like the designers you mentioned and stuff, that must be an insane feeling. You must be like buzzing with that when a partnership comes to fruition.
Absolutely. I mean, especially if it's been like kind of a target one you've always wanted. The fact that Chris as well really likes the brand, it always helps you get the buy-in, not just slapping the brand logo on the shorts or partnering for no reason. You have to get the buy-in from the talent, and Chris is very fussy, which is good.
Yeah.
And I think so are we in certain ways, and that's a good thing for us because it makes our job easier. But yeah, I mean, to get a deal over the line, which people think can take weeks, it can take months, it can take up to 6 months, it can take up to a year. It's that relationship building with the brand. With Fendi, for example, we did a shoot about 5 years ago, which was on their, I think it's called F is for Fighting, one of their campaigns. We flew to Rome after his fight. 2 days after his fight, we did a campaign. It was amazing. And then since then, we've kind of done a few, opportunities with them in the past. Been to a few shows. Things have opened up since then. So I think what people don't realize as well is that it's a long process.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen overnight. I think as well, Chris sometimes will get complacent. He's like, what's going on here? I was like, we need to build that relationship. It's not going to happen overnight.
Yeah, of course.
And that goes with every partnership we work with, through my agency, through Chris. It's taking the time, get to know them, make sure the brand aligns with Chris, make sure Chris's brand aligns with them, and then we go from there. But yeah, the feeling is pretty amazing when one of those deals comes through. Yeah.
Because they must just keep going up and up. Like, it's one of the things, as he gets bigger as well, it's like, what are we doing next? Like, it's constantly moving because you can't stagnate, but also it's like, can you take a moment to celebrate? Or is it constantly just keep
Try
going?
to. I mean, yeah. I mean, there are a lot of those pinch me moments. I mean, one of those moments would be after Chris's fight. Well, actually, to be honest, this is again is an example of doing the work beforehand. But we had a shoot with Esquire, and one of my mates that works there, and a videographer guy called Sheldon. Shout out Sheldon. Basically, he came and did some videography stuff and a shoot with Esquire in London. This is before his last fight against Conor, and Sheldon is and works with Guy Ritchie and Netflix, so he does a lot of the BTS content around there for the new show, The Gentleman Series 2. So yeah, I got to know him, and then a big passion point for Chris is acting. He's always loved acting, always been back of his mind when he finishes his career. He wants to go into acting, not the generic kind of commentator route. Or so I started speaking to them and seeing if there's any possibility that Chris could come on the show or do something, or even meet Guy. That'd be amazing. So Sheldon kind of connected the dots for us. Got in touch with Guy's PA, and then I think 3 days after the fight, behind the scenes, we had arranged to meet with Guy to come on set for the Gentleman Series 2.
Wow.
And yeah, we managed to, myself and Chris went over and just chilling in his trailer for, it seemed like an hour, but it was like 6 hours just chatting about everything. Like, it was
the dream.
Probably one of the most incredible experiences I've ever had, because I'd never met Guy before. But then Vinnie Jones was there, Theo James, I don't think Kaya was on set, but just meeting those guys and their experience and just having an honest conversation about things, just not being an athlete, just being, or myself just being a human, just having a normal conversation about life and everything and acting. And for us, for me and Chris and I, it's like, it's not our industry, so it's a massive eye opener. And Chris being put into that, and the questions he was asking and the stories that are being told, is like, for us, it was like incredible.
He must have been so pleased with you.
He was. Although the thing is with Chris, you don't get much credit. But I think deep down, he is grateful. I mean, Chris is an amazing guy to work with. But yeah, he's definitely shown it other ways for sure. But yeah, I mean, Guy was amazing. He obviously took us through set whilst they were shooting and showed us some really cool stuff. Since then, Chris is in the series.
Oh, wow. That's exciting.
Yeah. I can't go too much into that because of various contractual obligations and so forth. But he's had a couple of scenes. So again, all from that first meeting with Guy, kind of getting a feel for Chris, seeing how he can fit him in, constant, obviously, back and forth from me, obviously making sure something can happen in a nice way. And yeah, so we filmed something a few weeks ago in London, which is his last scene, which is incredible. I can't again go too much into it, but I think it's mid next year. I think season 2 comes out. But yeah, that was an incredible experience.
And that's just like another experience he gets to have, especially if that's the aim for him and you guys organizing that. Like, it just shows, it's like people helping people all the time in your industry, like making stuff happen. Absolutely.
And with Sheldon as well, we used, he actually filmed all Chris's fight week as well for his last fight. So again, he's an amazing videographer, so we'll have him for this fight as well. But he's opened up that door for us, so very grateful. And yeah.
That is really cool.
Yeah.
I think it sounds amazing. Like, I'd love to be an agent. I love all these, like, the different experiences every day. But do you ever get a day off? Because I feel like you can't miss a thing, surely. And it feels like it never stops. I mean, I'm sure it does, but...
Yeah. I think with our lifestyle and the way I operate and my business operates and working with Chris, there's not many days off. But, working 9 to 5 isn't in my DNA anymore. I've been there, done that, loved the experience, but unfortunately I do work weekends. Like, there'll be times I can just chill for a bit. Obviously my fiance is not too happy about that. But she gets to travel a bit as well when I do. So we try and combine trips. But yeah, I mean, it's a weird one because obviously she works 9 to 5. I work kind of this kind of lifestyle, and I wouldn't have it any other way, to be honest. I love what I do, and if you love what you do, you wake up in the morning, doesn't really matter. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, tomorrow I'm traveling to Dubai. I'll be there for a few weeks, and I'm flying to Austin for the F1 in that short weekend. Then I'm coming back. Then I'm going to Brazil. Then I'm going to so there's a lot of movement around the next few months. But I think again it goes back to my childhood. Like I've always loved to travel.
Yeah.
Always loved to interact with different people. So for me, it's like in my DNA.
Yeah.
I think once you get a taste of that as a kid, the traveling thing, the bug is kind of, you always have it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the same with my two co-founders as well. Dan, he travels nearly as much as me, if not more. Jono, he lives up in Manchester. He travels a bit as well. So I think across the three of us, yeah, we're quite well versed.
So are you three rarely in the same room?
Do you know what that is such a good question, because we actually had our staff, I guess, gathering, I don't know what you call it these days, a few weeks ago. So Jono Yates, one of my other co-founders, he's also an influencer himself. Mm-hmm. So he owns and operates a page called Only Scrans, which is one of the highest engaged food channel in the UK. His story is just like, you could probably have a podcast just on that.
Really?
Yeah, and Dan as well. They're both incredible people. So very, very fortunate to be working alongside them both. But yeah, Johnny lives in Manchester. He's just opened a pub called The Goat. So we actually went to The Goat for our staff do, and yeah, it's obviously incredible being up there as well. So
I love that.
That's when we kind of get to, because he lives in Manchester, it's quite hard to come back and forth all the time. Mm-hmm. So Dan, I was with obviously earlier today. We have an office in London. We have 4 or 5 employees as well. So we try and meet as much as possible. Mm-hmm. But again, like always traveling. Like I'm traveling, Dan's traveling, Jono's doing a brief, he's doing a shoot, he's traveling to this place. So there's a lot of movement across the business. But again,
it works.
Mm-hmm. And the synergy works as well across the three of us. Dan's background is very corporate marketing. He was head of Vodafone, head of marketing at Vodafone for over 10 years. He worked at Matchroom Boxing with Eddie Hearn and Barry Hearn. Jono is the creative genius across the three of us. So he was one of the first employees at Lab Bible when they had a following of 50,000. He grew it to 150 million.
Wow.
So he's a creator himself. Mm-hmm. I think after that he went to Red Bull, and then he set up Only Scrans during COVID. I think the year before COVID, just as going in there. So it's
wild,
incredible.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
So were you three just all like ready to start something yourself, and that's how you came together, and that's how Yards was born?
So funny story. Always comes from a funny story. But I've always, in the back of my mind, always wanted to start my own thing. Mm-hmm. It's always been a passion for me to set up my own agency and work with kind of like-minded individuals. So I knew Dan from the industry, like when he worked at Vodafone. I think I actually pitched to him for Chris, looking back on LinkedIn, like maybe 8 years ago, to try and sponsor Chris. And so we knew each other in the industry. Didn't know him that well. When he started working for Matchroom Boxing, he came in when Conor Benn was supposed to be fighting Chris in that original first fight, which got cancelled because Conor Benn failed a drugs test. So Dan was on that side of Matchroom Boxing. I was with Chris. And we both met opposite sides during, I think, one of the press conferences when he was over there, I was over here. And then we both just gave each other a nod, like, how's it going? And then from there, it kind of spiraled to then, in his mind, he always wanted to start an agency as well, start an agency. We had a coffee, I think, a few weeks later or a month later about this concept. But Dan, in his mind, had already kind of thought of it with Jono, I think, who I hadn't met before. The name was Yards. Love to bring him on board. I think all three of us have this amazing synergy in what we do in everyday life, what you bring to the table, what Jono does, what I do. So Yards was created and formed by Dan and Jono, and they kind of brought me on board straight away. And the idea of Yards is going that extra yard for your client, for your brand, for your rights holder.
Love that.
Yeah, so that's where the concept came from.
Nice.
And yeah, so then Yards was created. And then
That's
we're
amazing.
3 years in, 2.5 years, 3 years in.
So it's a place that you put all your expertise in, because obviously you've been an agent, they've built these other things, and it's kind of somewhere you can put it together to work on more clients. Is that right?
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
So essentially at Yards, we kind of have a few, two divisions, essentially like the talent division, the brand division, although we work in the rights holder space as well.
Mm-hmm.
But I kind of head up the talent. So we look after about 5 to 10 people exclusively. And then we also work with talent entertainers. It can be entertainers, athletes, musicians, artists, actors.
So you'll do everyone. Like
We
not
work
just
with
sports.
everyone. Yeah, not just
Nice.
across sport. I mean, at the moment, as you know,
That's okay.
at the moment, sport is combining with culture, fashion, music. It's colliding on a day-to-day basis. So there's so many synergies between all those things. So when we work with talent, depending what the brief is, we have a black book of talent we know and have worked with in the past. Myself, Dan when he was at Vodafone, Jono when he was at That Bible and Red Bull. So across all of us, we've amassed this reputation, relationships with some amazing talent, which we pick up the phone to and do a deal with straight away. And I think that is one of our USPs. We're not a middleman. We go straight to them. It keeps us. It's kind of that USP of working across other industries, other talent, other sectors has grown from our experience and relationships we've built.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that as well is quite a big thing for us at Yards. So that's how we build relationships. It's staying true to yourself, making sure every brief, every production, every shoot is positive. We're very professional, and across Dan's experience, Jono's experience, my experience, I think you're only as good as your last job. And we've worked on some amazing projects, and that's why we're kind of very reputable in the business. People know us. We're a very boutique agency. So there's 3 co-founders. We have 4 or 5 employees. We work at speed. We turn things around very quickly, which is why brands and rights holders and talent work with us and love us, because no bullshit, which happens a lot with some agencies and some not so much. But we're very transparent.
Yeah, of course. That's why people pick you, I guess.
Yes.
Because you've just signed an astronaut, right?
It is crazy saying that.
That is wild.
It is crazy saying that. I mean, there is method to that. We signed an astronaut.
It's really cool.
Who likes to almost be called an athlete himself, because to be an astronaut, you have to be an athlete, right?
Right.
To go through what they do. So Drew Fustel, he's incredible individual. I mean, incredible human.
Mm-hmm.
To have said he's been to outer space on over 3 occasions. So he was ex-commander-in-chief of NASA. He flew on the ISS missions, International Space Station. So he's incredible. So we're very fortunate to be working with him.
That's incredible. I know you've had so many good things, so you may not even be able to answer this, but do you have a highlight from the job that you've done?
I think one I spoke about earlier is definitely The Gentleman.
Yeah.
I think a big passion point for me as well. I love film. I love the film industry. Really, obviously, it's pretty incredible what they're doing. And I've always been around that, but I've never been immersed into it. So seeing that from a first person perspective, like going through that process, meeting some of the cast, meeting Guy, which is an experience. I think that was a massive passion point for me. So when that got over the line, and when I got the call from the producers to say that Chris is going to feature on, I was like, that's cool.
Yeah, that's
That's cool. I mean, and there's been various other opportunities and cases where brand deals come through, and that obviously those are amazing experiences as well. Or even the feeling after watching him fight when he wins, when he has his hand raised. That again is like a very just an amazing feeling, because obviously it's your client, but it's your friend as well.
Yeah, definitely.
And obviously just gone through a war. So I think every time his hand's raised up, and that winning feeling for me is like very emotional because obviously I'm watching it, live. So those experiences, obviously, you can't take away. But I would say the gentleman opportunity is for
Really
sure
up there.
definitely up there. Yeah,
Can't wait to see it. I'm buzzed.
I know, me too.
What's the goal or the dream for you as an agent, but also for the agency?
So I guess it's like a double-ended question, but or answer, sorry. So our goal at Yards obviously is to grow internationally a bit more. So we're looking at setting up an office in the Middle East, which I'm going to be tasked with opening up. Dan as well has opened something up in LA with Yards. So I think international expansion is definitely on the horizon, especially as you've got the World Cup in the States next year. We're working quite closely with the UAE and other kind of regions, across sport and entertainment. So I think definitely the expansion is definitely on our radar, and grow a bit more, but still staying true to ourselves, still being lean, mean, quick. As a boutique agency, I think that's what we're really keen to kind of bring forward. It's not changing who we are, culture, because that's what separates us from some of the big guys. The big massive agencies is the fact that we turn things around quickly with the first person they can kind of count on. And I think as you expand, you need to be very careful and how big, and sometimes you grow too quick, too fast. Mm-hmm. So I think that's something definitely we have at the back of our minds. But yeah, definitely international expansion. And then from a Chris perspective, obviously, he hasn't got many years left. Mm-hmm. So he says. Who knows? Maybe he'll probably fight for another year or so. I don't know. It's up to Chris, not up to me. We can only kind of guide his life in the background, but it's up to him at the end of the day. So for Chris, I'd love to help him on the acting side.
Yeah.
So definitely a passion point from post Gentleman is to definitely work with other kind of film industries, actors, directors, and help Chris obviously navigate that world. Because for me, it's an amazing experience. It's something he loves to do. So there's definitely, loads of opportunities we can get across with Chris for that.
And you can remain as his agent in that world. That'll be like you continuing to grow as well and learn, I guess.
Absolutely. Yeah, that'll be the plan for sure. I mean, I feel like it's just the beginning as well, because it's quite a new industry for us to be working with. I feel like the reset button's been pressed from his like career to now in brand new career. And Chris is like, he's very transparent. He's like, look, this might take time. Like I might need to get acting lessons. But he's one of the most, the maddest person I've ever met. When he gets something in his head, he will do it. There's no backing away. Mm-hmm. So if he wants to do this, he will do everything in his power to do it. Like he's very passionate about it as well. Like he loves gaming. He loves films. He loves that industry. So he will do everything in his power to basically go above and beyond. So it makes my job a bit easier as well when someone loves to do, what they do.
Because he's going to put the hard work in, to get there. So that's what loads better.
Yeah.
Well, that's amazing. Any advice of somebody that wants to get into this industry?
So the advice I would definitely give is, I think I mentioned it before, is if you are going to university, or even if you don't go to university, because, it depends on, what you want to do. But I would say for sure, get as much life experience as you can, experience different cultures, travel a lot when you're younger. Definitely take those internships and immerse yourself in opportunities and jobs that you're not that comfortable in, but at least you can say, I've ticked that off. That wasn't for me. Then, 10 years down the line and say, what if? Mm-hmm. That's for me is the most important thing, is looking back in my career is like, oh, why didn't I do that? And I think immersing yourself early age at uni, get as much experience as you can under your belt. So when you leave uni, and you want to go for this job or this opportunity, you're already separating yourself from the rest of the pack. Yeah. And I think that's a big thing for me, and obviously very grateful for all those opportunities I did, but I took the risk. I immersed myself in those opportunities, and that's kind of got me where I am today. Like if I hadn't gone to uni, It's like a full 360. I wouldn't have met my old colleague at the Premier League. If I hadn't done that internship, before uni, I wouldn't have worked there after, because it's impossible, as a graduate or postgraduate, to just rock up against 100 other CVs, thousands of other CVs, against a very competitive, industry. So you're going to meet people along the way. You're going to have, ask for favors. But those little kind of touch points definitely going to shape your future. That's it. Sorry, it's a bit long-winded, but
no, that was perfect. Thank you so much.
Pleasure.
That was awesome. Like, thank you for coming on and taking the time. You'll have helped a lot of people with that.
Pleasure. No, thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. Please make sure that you like and subscribe so we can continue to make these and keep teaching people how to become A. Thank you.